In 2020, my husband, who is 46 years old, and I, who am 33 years old, purchased a larger home and have been married for 5 years. I wanted to live somewhere quiet in the suburbs and try for children. Almost immediately upon learning of this, his adult son, who is 26 years old, requested to move back in. His son had always lived with his mom, so we hadn't spent much time together. But he wanted to move to our city to go to school and take advantage of his free college benefits from his father. We greatly wanted him to find success, and this was an adult family member, so no rent or responsibilities were outlined. Within a year, though, he had failed the entrance exams and decided not to go back to school. He spent most of his time visiting his family. He is very close with his mother's family, and there is clear animosity because his dad was away in the military for much of his childhood, so he never calls his dad family. It was the ex-wife who cheated, got pregnant, had the child under my husband's military insurance, and then divorced and married her affair partner, just in case anyone asks. So shortly after a year of him essentially doing nothing other than playing video games and smoking Zaza, he moved back to his mom's. About 1 year later, he requested to move back in. This time, it would be different because his mom had helped him get a work-from-home position at her company. He had a plan and just wanted to bond with his dad, save up money, and move out. Okay, sounds good. At some point, we learned that he was deeply in debt. I had always seen boxes in the mail. He bought a brand new car, and he bragged about his luxury purchases, so I had a hunch but stayed out of it. The plan became, help him get out of debt and learn about finances. His dad taught him about interest rates and helped transfer his balance to a low-interest loan. We chatted about paying it off, but decided to hold off as we hadn't seen any real responsibility. Unfortunately, a few months later, he was let go. But his spending didn't seem to stop. I continued to get alerts from Ring throughout the middle of the night as he went partying, continued to have money to spend on Zaza, and played video games all day. As someone who moved out at 18, worked to get a full-ride scholarship, and now works each day to pay for this house, it definitely felt insulting. We ended up going to marriage counseling where the therapist was so ridiculous. I think the guy was honestly 100 years old, rambling, drinking and chav. Sure to stay alive, so I just let it go for a while longer. Before this, I had been cooking meals for everyone, but I basically stopped at this point. This went on for maybe 6 months, with his dad asking what his plans were, if he'd go to school, join the military, learn a trade, anything. He didn't want to do anything. He didn't have a passion in life, so his dad helped him get a military contracting job. Secret clearance was paid for. It's a bottom-of-the-ladder job, but it's a great stepping stone. He quit on day 2. He didn't tell us. He just stopped going, and I asked after him being home for 1 to 2 weeks what happened. His dad confronted him and found that he didn't like having nothing to do, staring at the clock all day. His dad was disappointed and basically disengaged at this point. He said he wasn't helping him anymore, not charging rent, not kicking him out, just not helping him with the career search. Miraculously, several months later, he landed a well-paying job at a medical clinic. This was great, but after a couple of days, his car was still in the driveway. Why wasn't he at work? He stopped leaving his room until we had gone to bed, so my husband put off talking to him. We found out maybe 2 months later that he quit because he wanted to go to Europe with his family. Family means everything to this kid. He couldn't give up the opportunity to go on this family vacation that his grandmother was paying for, even for a high-paying job that didn't require a college degree. My husband said he needed to find a job or he was out of the house. It was a weak threat because, at this point, he had declined help from everyone. His uncle basically handed him a marketing position. He said he couldn't do it because he wanted to go out for his birthday weekend. His other uncle got him interviews for Costco. He didn't go. My husband had recruiters call him, and he hung up once he figured it out. At this point, I was talking to my husband about wanting to move out myself. I worked hard at a high-stress job, and it's honestly too much to have someone I consider to be a NEET living in the home that I pay for. He doesn't come out until nighttime, doesn't interact with us, and basically acts like he doesn't exist. I only see Ring alerts all night. My only rule is no smoking Zaza in the house, so I guess he goes out to smoke. I don't think it's healthy for him either. I've even run this situation by my husband's mother. She's Asian, I'm not, so this is all especially difficult, as culturally, families should support each other. She said to kick him out. I feel guilty at the same time, though. What if he's depressed? What if he's really trying? Would charging rent that we put into an account help? But you need a job to pay rent. I don't want to ruin my husband's relationship with his son, which is why I'm feeling like I need to be the one to leave. But my husband believes his son needs a wake-up call, and that he will ultimately thank him for doing this. So I'm asking at this point, what should we do? To add, I want to sincerely thank everyone for providing advice and perspective. You've made me feel that I'm not a terrible person for wanting this, and that it really is the best course of action. My husband is fed up with the situation and is ready to provide him with the eviction notice tonight. I hope that someday in the near future he will find his path, and hopefully this will be a positive step towards that. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Their relationship is not your problem. If kicking him out causes the son to not speak to his father, that's not down to you. Your husband likely would have thrown him out if it was just him in the house. Their relationship was fractured before you came into the picture. Don't leave a home you own because a grown man doesn't want to be responsible. Let your husband do what he needs to do without guilt. Comment 2. He's not a child. You have a right to have a life where you are not paying for a grown man's mistakes. Tell your husband he has 1 week to ask his son to leave, or you will be leaving. This time there's no moving back in. He needs to grow up. I left home at 18 and have paid my own way ever since. If his son is still there this time next week, pack up and leave. Now for the update. A week after my stepson got that eviction notice, he moved out. But you know what? Not far. Just a couple of blocks away, crashing at a friend's place. My husband was relieved, but I could see that guilt creeping in. He just kept saying how his son needed to be independent. I wasn't so sure about that. Something just felt off. Like, I could see my husband trying to act like everything was cool, but I could tell he was worried about something. Then the son went and posted on social media, showing off this brand new gaming console and all these expensive accessories. I mean, really? Right after getting evicted? So I casually brought it up at dinner just to see what my husband would say. He tensed up and changed the subject super fast. That's when it really hit me. Something's not right here. A few days later, I found this receipt for the gaming stuff hidden in a kitchen drawer. Like, come on, really? You're just gonna shove it in there and pretend I won't find it? The receipt was dated the day after the eviction notice. So of course, I had to ask my husband about it. He said he was just trying to help his son adjust to living on his own, but the details didn't match up. So I confronted him, asked why he didn't mention it earlier, and he just brushed me off. Said he wanted to support his son. But the way he said it? Defensive. So I figured, what the heck, I'll go check in on the son at his friend's place, see how he's really doing. When I got there, I overheard him talking about a surprise for my husband. Apparently, there's some big reveal planned for my husband's birthday party in 2 weeks. I was confused, so I asked the friend about it, but he had no clue. Just a bunch of guys being guys, I guess. When I got home, I told my husband about the surprise, and he seemed even more anxious. He suggested we plan a nice, quiet birthday dinner for his son instead of a party, and I agreed, but something just felt off. Like, why so set on a low-key celebration? As the birthday approached, the son kept posting about his plans, hinting at these big changes. I couldn't resist snooping around his social media for more clues. That's when I found this video of him and his friends talking about a big return to gaming competitions. My husband was totally oblivious to it all, just focused on organizing the dinner. I started to worry that the son was planning to move back in after the birthday party. On the day of the birthday dinner, I saw my stepson nervously checking his phone. During the dinner, my husband gave him a brand new gaming chair as a gift, and the kid grinned but immediately shifted his gaze to his phone. It was like he was waiting for something. Then, the moment came. He announced his plans to enter a major gaming tournament. My husband was all smiles, proud of his kid. But then the son's phone buzzed, and he read the message before bolting from the table. My husband followed him out, leaving me alone with this half-eaten cake. They were gone for a few minutes, but it felt like forever. When my husband came back, he looked even more anxious than before. So at that point I figured, what the heck? I'm gonna check the son's phone while he's out of the room. I mean, what else was I supposed to do? I found these messages about a huge cash prize for the tournament, enough to cover all his debts. My husband walked in just as I was reading them, and we had this intense exchange about trust. The son came back, and his mood changed. He was all excited about his plans. I knew I had to say something, so I declared that we needed to talk about boundaries. My husband tried to smooth things over, but I wasn't having it. In a moment of frustration, I revealed that I knew all about the tournament and the cash prize. The son flipped out, saying I had no right to invade his privacy. My husband was caught in the middle, just trying to keep the peace. I calmly stated that I wouldn't support any plans involving him moving back in, and he stormed out of the house. My husband was left speechless. I knew I had to take charge of the next family meeting. I'm still processing all of this, like, wow. I mean, I knew things were a bit rocky with my stepson, but I didn't expect it to blow up like this. My husband and I have barely spoken since that night. He's upset with me for going through his son's phone, and I get it, but I just feel like I had to know. I'm really worried about the future of our marriage. I didn't sign up for this type of family drama, you know? And my stepson? He won't even look at me now. I'm just here trying to figure out if I made the right call, or if I completely messed up. To answer a few questions, my husband and I have been married for 2 years. His son's gaming obsession has been ongoing for a while. The surprise party was meant to celebrate his birthday and his new job in gaming. The son has not officially moved back in since the incident. Am I the idiot for letting my girlfriend treat her dog like a child while struggling to accept my daughter? My 29-year-old girlfriend, who is 27 years old, and I have been together for a little more than a year. A year before we met, I split up with my ex, with whom I had a daughter who is now 4 years old. My new relationship is going well, and I'm very happy by her side. We're talking about settling down together and even having a child later on. This suits me perfectly. At first, it was hard for her to see herself with me because it took me a long time to get rid of some of my ex's things. Not because I was attached to them, but because I didn't really pay attention to them anymore. I don't have feelings for my ex anymore, nor did I at the start of our relationship, but I completely understand that it's confusing. We got through it though. I got rid of everything. The subject of my daughter has always been complicated for both her and me. It's complicated to accept someone else's child into your life, especially when she doesn't want one yet. Obviously, I want everything to go well for the three of us and for us to be able to do lots of activities together. I try as much as possible not to force anything. I communicate a lot with my daughter about her feelings towards my girlfriend, and even though she's still little, she gives me the impression through her behavior and words that she appreciates my girlfriend. The three of us have already been on a few outings together, and it's always gone well. The three of us have also been to school once, and I could feel that my daughter was really enjoying it. I'm delighted every time. I told my daughter that my girlfriend would spend the night at home and that she might accompany us to school the next day. However, this morning, my girlfriend couldn't come with us. My daughter was sad, and we both went. I met up with my girlfriend after dropping my daughter off at school, and we talked about it. My girlfriend told me that the reason my daughter was sad this morning was because we had kissed in front of her. I maintained that it wasn't. It was because she was disappointed that my girlfriend hadn't come with us. Another thing, my girlfriend brought back a flower necklace for my daughter, and she thought it was great. I told her to take it off for school, and as a joke, my girlfriend said she could keep it. I agreed, knowing she'd put it in her bag before class. However, my daughter still took it off before she left. My girlfriend is convinced it's because my daughter doesn't like it, and I think it's because I asked her to take it off just before. We've stuck to our guns. She's convinced that I'm trying to force things, that my daughter isn't necessarily ready to accept someone else, and that I'm convincing myself that everything's fine. As far as I'm concerned, my girlfriend puts things like that in her head because she's afraid of rejection. The more we argued, the less we agreed, and the more we convinced ourselves of our version of things. But now that I think about it and write these words, I'm not sure of anything anymore. Maybe I'm convincing myself that things are going well, when, in fact, they're not. I guess I need to talk things over calmly with my girlfriend. But how do I go about it? I'm afraid of losing her, and I don't want to screw things up. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I think you should consider the possibility that your girlfriend is projecting her feelings onto your daughter. To me, it's very clear from what you've written that your girlfriend feels very uneasy about your daughter, and to protect her pride in your relationship, she's trying to push the blame onto a child. Does your girlfriend know anything about children? Does she know how to be around them? Is she interested in children at all? Is she willing to work on the perceived issues between her and your daughter? Comment 2. You need to slow down. Right now, your girlfriend should be nothing but a fun adult that your daughter sees sometimes, but isn't pushed onto her. You are pushing too fast, and I think your girlfriend sees it but doesn't know how to put words to her feelings. You are also trying to treat your daughter like she's 14 years old instead of 4 years old. Trying to communicate with her is great, but the way you're talking about the communication is above the level of a 4-year-old. Now, for the update. A couple of weeks passed since the last misunderstanding about the necklace. Can't say it was easy, but we were managing. I could feel the relationship going up and down, but we were on it together at least. So I had this idea. I decided to plan a family dinner at my parents' house. To ease the awkwardness and maybe get my girlfriend and my daughter to bond a bit more. I thought maybe my parents could help and get my girlfriend to open up about the whole stepmom thing. My parents were excited to see my girlfriend and my daughter together again. Not that they were ever together that much. My mom was probably planning a welcome to the family banner in her head. My dad was probably planning to grill some steaks. Typical dad, right? So anyway, my girlfriend arrived early on the day of the dinner with a dessert to impress my family. It was this fancy tiramisu thing. I don't know. I'm not a dessert guy. My daughter was thrilled to see both me and my girlfriend. I mean, she probably didn't even know there were issues. She's 4. 4-year-olds don't pick up on that stuff, right? They just want to play with toys and eat ice cream. So dinner started well, with everyone chatting and laughing. My dad told his usual dad jokes, which my girlfriend actually laughed at. That was a good sign, I think. Then my dad brought up the idea of family traditions and how they could include my daughter. That's when things got a bit weird. My girlfriend awkwardly smiled, but didn't really engage much in the conversation. You could tell she was thinking something, but she wasn't saying it. The silence was louder than my dad's jokes. My daughter, being the cute little distraction she is, asked my girlfriend to help her with a craft project during dinner. Classic 4-year-old. My girlfriend hesitated, looking unsure about the request. I could see my daughter getting a bit nervous, so I encouraged my girlfriend to join in, wanting her to bond with my daughter. I thought maybe some glitter and glue could fix everything, The girlfriend finally agreed, but the tension in her body was noticeable. It was like watching a tree bend in the wind, but not break. So while they worked on the craft, my daughter accidentally spilled glue on the table. Don't ask me how, but she did. The girlfriend reacted sharply, saying it was a mess and ruining the mood. I could feel my daughter's little heart sink. I quickly interjected, trying to lighten the situation with a joke about the glue being a new table decoration. My girlfriend seemed frustrated, though. That led to a brief silence at the table, which my mom tried to break by asking about my dad's golf game. No luck. After dinner, my daughter went to play, and we were left alone with my parents. My dad awkwardly mentioned that we needed to figure out summer plans. That's when the girlfriend snapped, saying we're not even engaged, so summer plans shouldn't matter. My parents exchanged these worried glances, and I could feel my mom's heart breaking for my daughter. The girlfriend stood up abruptly, saying she needed to leave. I followed her outside, asking her to wait. My daughter came outside, worried about the commotion. She's got a good radar for that stuff, which is probably my fault. I knelt down to talk to my daughter, reassuring her that everything was okay. She gave me one of those, "everything's not okay, but I believe you" looks. After a few moments, the girlfriend joined us, attempting to smile for my daughter's sake. We finished the evening awkwardly, with my daughter obliviously happy. Gotta love kids, right? A few days later, I received a text from my girlfriend asking to meet. She must have realized that we needed to talk about this. We met at a local coffee shop to discuss things calmly. It was like a work meeting, but with more emotions. The next week, my girlfriend suggested a day out with my daughter, wanting to bond. I was a bit surprised. I thought she would want a day off from the whole stepmom thing. They spent the day at a kids' museum, where my daughter was excited and engaged. I saw some pictures. My girlfriend and my daughter worked well together, enjoying the exhibits. Afterward, they had ice cream, and my daughter asked if they could do it again. My girlfriend smiled and said she would love to. That's a win, I think. I don't know if we're in the clear yet, but it felt like a step in the right direction. My daughter was super happy about the whole day. Honestly, that's all I care about right now. Edit. My girlfriend has no kids of her own. She has a dog that is like her child, though. My daughter really loves the dog and they play a lot. My girlfriend is 33 and I am 37. My daughter and I moved into my girlfriend's apartment. She is looking for a bigger place for all of us. Am I the idiot for giving my wife an ultimatum to stop talking to her cousin after she admitted to an emotional affair? I have been married to my wife for 5 years and together for 13 years. We have 2 little ones, both under 5. We were planning on moving to Florida, and 3 days before we were set to fly to move, the car was already there waiting, and all of our stuff. She hits me with this. I work out of town on a rotational schedule, 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off, and about 6 weeks ago when I returned home from work, she blindsided me with, "I'm no longer in love with you. I don't want to be with you. We lost our spark. I haven't been happy in years," etc. While telling me this, she informs me she feels she had an emotional affair on me. This person just so happens to be her first cousin. I'm obviously extremely confused and distraught, so I left to stay at my dad's place that night. I tell her on the phone, "I'll give you until the end of the day to discontinue talking to him. Otherwise, I'm filing for divorce." She tells me, "Yeah, I'm gonna stop talking to him. I want to fix this for the kids." She doesn't. The next day, I go back over to her place to talk about things, and I go through her phone. I notice she deleted the texts with him, and on her Photos app, the last photos she was looking at were boudoir photos she had gotten done for me for Valentine's Day this year. Not fully unclothed, but very revealing in lingerie. I approach her about this, and she says, "I deleted the messages because I didn't want anything with him in my phone, and I was looking at those photos because I wanted to remind myself that I'm more than just a mom." So I call her bluff. Tell her I'm going to get in touch with our phone provider and get the text logs. So if she has anything to tell me, she better fess up. She tells me, "Okay, well, he sent me a photo." All right. What else? "Okay, I sent him a boudoir photo." This just breaks me down even further, obviously. So I take my kids and go stay with my mom for a few days. At this point, I'm still in a ton of mental grief, confused and lost. But I'm still willing to try to fix this because I truly love her and want our kids to be in a full home. Over the next week, we barely talk unless it's about the kids. She comes over to my mom's to get the kids, and she takes them for the next week. So I have a week to myself now at my mom's. She emails me some divorce papers that she started to fill out, and I'm begging her not to do this, not to force this. But she doesn't care. So I spent my week at my mom's alone filling out these papers, and I'm still trying to fight for her. She's trying to tell me, "Oh, he's just a friend at this point, nothing is going on, blah, blah, blah." Until one day she tells me, "I am actively pursuing him." I crumble and give up hope and just focus the next few days on getting the papers finished up. At this point, I go back to get my kids and move into a new rental I had just found. She'd had them for a week at this point now. And I tell her, "Hey, before I go back to work for my rotation, I want to get this filed." I finally get her over to my place, get everything signed, and we file the following Monday. I leave to work on Tuesday, and it's been about 3 weeks since all this news was broken to me. Nothing is said about her not wanting a divorce, not wanting this, etc. We just file and go about our ways cordially. I get to work, and she finds out I'm talking to another woman, someone I have history with from when we were teenagers, and she absolutely hates for whatever reason. She asks if I'm talking to her, and I tell her, it's none of your business who I'm talking to. We're getting divorced. The next few days, she keeps pestering me about this, so I finally tell her, yes, I am talking to her just for support. Honestly, that was why I reached out to her. This hurts her, and she hangs up on me. Whatever. The next day, she calls me saying, I miss you. I don't want to get divorced. We need to fix this for the kids. I'm not talking to him anymore, etc., etc., etc. Seems like pretty convenient timing, right? At this point, I've pretty well accepted my fate and reality and have come to terms with everything and decided it's best not to go back because of the circumstances. She's been essentially begging for me to not follow through with this divorce, essentially manipulating me, and it's messing with my head. I truly feel I cannot go back to that. She betrayed me with her cousin and abandoned me during the darkest time of my life. But I still do love her and care for her, obviously, even though she destroyed everything we had built. My thing is, I'm struggling with guilt. I know I shouldn't feel guilt as I did nothing wrong in this scenario, but I feel guilty because I know she will struggle. She's been a stay-at-home mom since our first was born and has no career. I feel guilt for my children's sake being raised in a broken home, and I feel guilt for giving up on my family. She wants me back, but it seems not for the right reasons. It seems more out of jealousy, knowing she's going to struggle financially, and because I know she doesn't want to live in our small hometown we grew up in, and she's feeling upset we aren't in Florida like we had originally planned, not because she loves me and wants to fix this. I feel I can't go back because of what she had done to our family and the fact that she made such rash decisions. If she can do this with a cousin, what's to prevent this from happening again? Or making any other rash decisions? I'm just lost on what to do, so any feedback would be appreciated. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Dear God, 100% get the best lawyer you can and consult with others. Gather your evidence, leave, and hopefully get custody of your kids. That's straight twisted, having an emotional affair with your cousin, and I would honestly be terrified of any sort of intimacy abuse with the kids. You honestly need to leave and fight for custody of your kids because that's 100% not normal. And I'm really curious about the trauma in that family line. Run as fast as you can. This is beyond terrible in my opinion. I feel any judge would be like, what the heck? This is demented. Comment 2. Do you think that a 22-year-old is wanting anything but the pursuit and intimacy? Certainly not kids, not a divorcee with all of the family politics. I'm sure both of them are being raked over the coals every single day. Meanwhile, she doesn't even seem to realize that there's the whole betrayal she has to confront. I hope you have support to continue with this divorce and that your soon-to-be ex realizes that civil co-parenting is her only option. Now for the update. I'm feeling the weight of all this divorce stuff. I thought moving into my own place would be some kind of freedom, but I just feel lost. The kids were with me this weekend, and I tried to keep everything normal for them, but it's hard. I can tell they're dealing with a lot. They mentioned their mom's been crying a lot, which broke my heart. I took them to a local arcade to keep their minds off things for a while. I thought it would be fun, and it was, but then I ran into a neighbor. You know how neighbors can be. He casually mentioned seeing my ex with her cousin at a cafe nearby, and that just set me off. I know I shouldn't be surprised, but hearing it from someone else, it just made it all feel more real. We used to talk about loyalty and trust, and here she is, breaking all that. After the kids went to bed that night, I called her. She was supposed to be home with the kids, but all I heard was laughter in the background. She tried to play it off like they were just watching a movie, but I could tell she was being evasive. Her phone was left unlocked on the table, so I quickly checked her texts. I found a new number saved under some cutesy nickname. I didn't want to freak the kids out, so when they asked about their mom, I changed the topic. It was a rough night. Later that week, she invited the kids over for dinner at her place. I didn't want to make things worse, so I reluctantly agreed. During dinner, I noticed she was more animated than usual, especially when talking about our family time. It made me feel nostalgic, but also very angry. Then, out of nowhere, her cousin showed up. He claimed he just wanted to say hi to the kids. My stomach dropped, but I kept quiet. I wanted to avoid a scene. After he left, I asked her to confirm that their contact was strictly for the kids. She assured me it was, but she couldn't even look me in the eye. A few nights later, I got a call from a private number. It was a mutual friend who mentioned seeing her and the cousin at a concert together. I was already on edge, so I went to check it out. When I got to her apartment, her car was parked outside a bar, right next to the cousin's car. I texted her asking where she was, but no response. I waited for a while, and then I saw them leaving together, laughing. She spotted me, and her face went from happy to shocked. She didn't even come over to talk. She just got in his car, and they drove off. I was left standing there like an idiot. The next day, I moved to finalize the divorce papers. I kept the kids for the weekend again, trying to be a stable presence for them. They need it. On Sunday, while at a family birthday party for my sister, I got a text from her asking to talk. I went outside to call her, and she said she was sorry for everything. I thought we could talk about the kids and maybe work this out, but then she brought up the cousin again. She said it was just a phase. That was it for me. I hung up and went back inside. The kids noticed I was upset and asked if everything was okay. I just brushed it off and said I was fine. At the end of the weekend, I returned the kids to her house. As we were leaving, she asked if she could have them for a week during the summer. I agreed, but it felt more like giving up than a compromise. Things just keep getting messier. The following week, I got an email from her lawyer about custody arrangements. I'm just trying to keep it together for the kids. I'm trying to be the stable parent, the good parent, but it's hard. I just want to know when this is all going to be over. Edit. I've received questions about our living arrangements and the timeline of the divorce. We are living about 15 minutes apart, which allows me to see the kids regularly. The divorce is expected to finalize in 2 months. My ex is currently renting a 2-bedroom apartment. She insisted on staying close to the schools, and I agreed to it. I still drive by our old neighborhood occasionally. It's tough, but the kids need some familiarity during this change. I appreciate everyone's support. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.